Very interesting developments. For me, yesterday, the story was mainly the dollar not going up. Well, went down again, last end of last week, it went down also at a very important moment. And that was when interest rates were going up. This time, interest rates went down and the dollar went down too, which is what is expected. But for me, the dollar is just showing too much weakness at a very important time. So dollar down, also gold and silver going up at technically good looking levels. And if the dollar starts to flush, it will coincide perfectly for a massive bounce. And when you zoom out and look back, you'll notice that gold, it made sense. Gold bouncing made basically a double bottom, higher low double bottom around 1900. Silver outperforming, which is a bullish signal. We're going to take a look at all of that. Also, the markets, we'll start with the markets, go to the banks as usual. We'll also cover Bitcoin because you can't ignore Bitcoin. There's a story there too. Let's start with the S&P. Okay, look, the markets closed at high of day yesterday, but I'm not going to say it's tremendously bullish because, well, they're just bouncing off this window close low. So again, we closed the gap already on this day. But look at that rejection, Friday. Today we're bouncing. It's middle of nowhere. You could really zoom in and put an extra low. The low of the last 3 days, this sort of area, even the low of yesterday, you could say that sort of exists as a intermediary low. But the real low for me is the low down here. So these three trend lines, the top, the bottom, and the middle zone, if you want to call it that. It's not the perfect line, but you know what I mean. Nasdaq, same thing. The low of the last 3 days roughly is also the gap close. Then you got the resistance and the support. That's all you got to trade for the moment. Dow Jones, you can see how weak it is compared to the others. Not unbelievably weak, but still, hasn't bounced up that much either. But look at this, we're very close to the support zone. Obviously, it closed at high of day, so that's notable stuff. But it just takes one day to go even below it. And then we're flushing, and then we're hitting ascending, and then basically the most important market is looking very weak. So Dow Jones is relatively weak. But the Russell, on the other hand, which is probably the weakest overall the last couple of months, is actually very, very strong relative to the others. But again, like I said, hasn't moved up that much. It should really be in the 224 zone by now just to match the S&P and the Nasdaq. So we look at that pretty close to resistance. So that's something respectable. And the banks, moving to the banks, they tend to follow the Russell more than the other markets. So you can see they're also flagging near their recent highs. Resistance is 34 for the XLF, which is the senior banks, but still following the Russell. Now, the more junior medium banks, regional banks, KBE, KRE, they are in the middle of the range. I still think they're quite weak. Given the fact that they follow the Russell, they should be all the way up here, 38 on the KBE. And for the KRE, they should be really near 44 by now, but they're very weak. I think if there's any dumpage in the S&P and the Nasdaq or the Dow, then obviously the Russell will have a red day, and then the banks will be at their lows. It doesn't take much. The bias is so much to the downside. It just wouldn't take much. 1 or 2 days, and all of a sudden the markets can just start to really, that Thursday last week, those kind of, you have one day like that, everyone wobbles. If you have 2 days like that, it's almost a trend reversal, like a medium-term trend reversal. And I think something like that is any day away. Just 1 or 2 days, bam, you got the regionals looking like they want to go back down to their bear market lows. I mean, that kind of a phrase should scare people. Bear market lows, regional banks, and with interest rates going up. Now, look, interest rates went down yesterday, so that should help, I think, the regional banks, and it did, but not by much. So watch out. Interest rates going up, banks and the Russell go down, it all collapses. And the S&P and the Nasdaq now are not the strongest markets. So it doesn't look as strong as it did the last couple of weeks. Put it that way. Despite the green day yesterday, I'm always favoring a flush in the markets. Now let's look at interest rates, because it still remains for the last couple of months, and since the bear market started, even before, the most important asset class. Now the story of the 1 year is just steady move up. Even before this flush after the financial crisis, which we're still in, everyone started to buy bonds, so we had a bit of an interruption, and it took time for us to get a new pattern emerging. But look, before that, look at this pattern, right? We're doing the same thing. So staircase up, bit of a sideways down day yesterday. The 2 year now, once you get to the 2 year, back down to the 30 year, from 2 to 30, there's, these follow each other a bit more. The 1 year is a bit of an anomaly. It stands out. It does its own thing. I don't cover the 3 or 6 month, but it's the same thing really. The 2 year, bit of a down day. They're just retracing a massive staircase move up. So I think we can go down to 4.7%. I don't think we'll get there, but that's the low, and then we'll bounce back up to 5 and make new highs. 5 years, same thing. Very, very, I think it was the strongest move up, the last 3 days, especially. Look at that move, touching resistance all the way back down. It could go, I don't know, as low as 4%, but then it'll go back up to 4.4 and probably make new highs. So I think we're just having a small retracement. I don't think we'll go as low as I'm saying 4%, but I think that would be the low if it did want to do a major move down. 10%, the 10 years, sorry, same thing. I think we can go down to 3.85-ish, 3.8 max. Otherwise, back up to 4 and back to making new highs in the 2 year and the 10 year. That's just enormous news. And you know what? It might just hold right here and go all the way up. So I don't really care how much lower it goes. It should show strength. It's just retracing a bit of a strong move. So it's not going to go all the way back down. Most likely, it'll just sort of probably curl where it is now, curl and go back up. 30-year, even less of a move lower because it's made not that much of a massive move. It's understandable. It's a 30-year. It's a big monster that doesn't move too. It shouldn't move too much. But look, it should really curl around 4%. So maybe the 30-year stops the whole retracement. Maybe it just stops at 4%. Then the 10-year stops going down. And then, the others stop going down. Then they start reverse and go back up. So I think interest rates could go a little lower, but otherwise ready to go back up and make new highs. I mean, the 30-year, not straight away, of course, but you know what I mean? The 2-year, even the 5-year, and watch out if the 10-year starts to make new highs. Okay, let's look at the dollar. So I think the dollar is the most interesting asset class at the moment. Look at this weakness. I mean, yes, we had this massive move up. We had a big retracement. Then it started to try and find a bit of a zone to bounce. You can see this channel we're in here, this descending, which is the best, for me, the best technical pattern to break out of. But, I needed a bit of time to decide whether it was going to do it. We had this bounce, then we had this bounce, this move back up here, which was not obvious. It took some time to break out of this little descending move. But when it did, look at that, bam. And then it was really here, this moment here where, okay, we bounced. You can see it's hitting this resistance. And you know what? I didn't see anyone else find this resistance. And this is the one you should be watching. This is the one. And then we dropped again. Okay, fine. It doesn't want to break out straight away, because if it broke out of this, it would really start to hit this triangulating area here. There's a lot of resistance here. These things work. Unless there's some major news, squeeze is fine. But if we were to keep going here, hit a lot of resistance, so it makes sense that it goes back down. But this was the moment. I knew it would sort of find some support here and not go all the way back down. It could have, but I think it favored because it just very recently broke out. So it's not just going to go all the way back down. I mean, these kind of things happen to natural gas, but not really the dollar. So it found a bit of support of 1 or 2. I didn't believe in a bounce straight away because it's just made a move down. So I wanted some sideways actions for a couple of days. It did that. Then we started to move up. Now this move up, if I'm not going to draw the ascending, but the ascending, it's weak. But I still thought it could go all the way up to 104, hover sideways, and then squeeze. That would be a believable move. I would believe that squeeze. But, look at this. Just this flush. For me, it was really Friday. We had interest rates going up, markets going down, and the dollar goes down. When the market goes down, the dollar should go up. It can go down. It can go down, but usually it goes up. But then when interest rates go up, the dollar should really go up. So you have interest rates up, which is positive dollar, and you have markets down, which is positive dollar. And what does dollar do? It drops at a very important moment when it could have gone up here and started to flag. And for me, and I think I said on my video, my latest markets video, I said that's weak. And what happened yesterday? I couldn't do a video yesterday. I was actually a bit sick. I still have a bad throat. But what do we have yesterday? We have a close. We have a close just here. Which is basically the low. It's actually under 102. And I think I mentioned what a close below 102 with. But to be honest, it's so close to 102, I wouldn't even trust it. But Either way, it's weak. You know, it's lower highs, which is fine. That's what descending does. But then lower lows at a very important technical moment when all the elements are helping it, market going down, interest rate going up. So I'm sorry, all things considered, the dollar's too weak. So what do I think will happen now? Well, I don't know if we're going to sort of try and hover 102, but sorry, it's just too weak. I think we're going to go lower, and we're not going to flush 101 or 100.8, the absolute low. I think we're gonna hold 101-ish, but imagine if we do, imagine how weak that pattern looks anyway. If we just go down here, if we start to go down here and hover here, it's just weak. Imagine the lower highs we've had. It's just so many. If we do rally, it'll just be like that. In fact, you can almost predict the next descending that you're going to draw, and it's not going to break out of that. Sorry, I'm not impressed. Not impressed. And obviously, de-dollarization, the BRICS coming out with their gold-backed currency, it makes sense, but I don't know if that's really priced in at all, even before. So for me, the dollar, very weak. Let's see if it tries to sort of create a hammer, because the day is very young over here. Let's see if it tries to create a hammer and go sideways and break out. Anything's possible, but that's really not impressive ever since Friday in particular. Even the move up here wasn't that amazing. It's finding resistance before 104. So dollar weak. Okay, let's move to commodities, which should reflect that. Look at this. Copper, you could say now it's reclaimed this ascending. That's where I thought it would find support. Look at that. It did. It's hovering, and now honestly, if the dollar starts to go lower, copper will finally go back up to 4, at least 3.96-ish zone. If we close above that, or even test 4, I think we're guaranteed to go to 4.2. So copper's doing all right, which coincides with the metals all across the board sort of rallying. Natural gas, I think it retraced a bit too much, but look at that. Just as it retraced too much, it starts to bounce a bit. Let's see. I've added this little descending because I think it's coming into play. In the 15 minutes, it probably makes more sense. So let's see if we can go up to 2.68 and then test this, close above this, and then we'll see a bigger rally, I think. So sorry about this, but natural gas, I think we close above this descending on a daily, we go straight back up to basically to test 3. And once we start testing 3, once you start seeing 3 flashing on your screen for natural gas, I think it's done. I think it will, well, look, it'll come up here to test this high here, 3.05. And when would that happen? Probably around next week. And then straight away, we're going to be testing this area. And if we start to close above the descending, then we've got a real squeeze coming. But I think natural gas is just a squeeze waiting to happen. So very good to see it rally, because I think it retraced a bit too much, but now it's looking very good again. And look at oil. I hadn't taken a look at oil. Look at that. Closed above the descending, held it, squeezed, and we've touched 74, just like I thought. Absolutely kissed 74 here. Now retracing. Now what happens? Well, anything can happen. Well, no, I think we're going to go sideways and actually test 80. I think it's time to acknowledge that it didn't break down. It's found great, not great, but it was impressive buying here in the low 67s. And what doesn't go down must start to go up. And it found enough strength. Now we're here. So I think we'll go sideways a bit. And as soon as we start to close above 74, we've got to start testing 80. See if 80 gets tested. Otherwise, if it goes higher, then we know the absolute high is 83.5-ish, but we need to make these trend lines thinner. But yeah, into the 80s we go, basically. Oil, very good. I love this 74 test. I hadn't checked oil in 2-3 days, actually. But there you go, 74, beautiful. Uranium. Okay, uranium up. Why would uranium be up? Because of the dollar, not really. Because of the markets, that tends to follow the markets. Okay, either it's a little combination of both. Either way, uranium is up. Technically, technically it broke out, it retraced, it overdid the retracement. I know the market flush hurt uranium. Now the market's bouncing, so you could maybe excuse that for its move up. I don't want to comment too much on uranium because, normally I would say, it's finally done. It's broken out. It's now going to go up. These things take a bit of time, but look, it seems to be affected by the market. The market dropped, so it went a bit lower than it should have. Honestly, it should have never really gone back into this triangle. It can a little bit like this. This is fine. Maybe my triangle's off, and who cares if it does it. But this move down here with the market, that was not really supposed to happen. But if it does get, if it does follow the market a lot and the market drops, then we're going to go back down. It is what it is. And I hope that does happen because me, like a fool, I knew it was going to go up long term. I saw it at the lows of its technical long term triangle and never bought it. So I don't deserve to have uranium, but maybe I get very lucky and the market crashes and uranium goes down with it and gold and silver go up. That would be absolutely amazing. But I'm not sure what to expect because, again, normally I would say, okay, we go back up, we go test 21.8, this high here, and then maybe 22.5-ish, and then the all high, lots of mini levels on the way up for the ultimately meeting this big boss over here. But I do think the market's going to go down. I don't think the market's going to go up long enough for uranium to go up if it is following the market. So uranium, no comment besides all the other comments I just said. Gold and silver, this is what's interesting. I'm going to call this a double bottom. Sort of this flush down here. I remember saying 1900 will flush a little bit just to take out those stops and then go back up. That was nice. And then this other double bottom attempt here, when I believe the dollar was strong on this day and gold didn't go even to 1900. And that's when I thought that's quite strong. And I mentioned that, I'm quite sure of that. And then the dollar started to flush and market down, gold up. The gold started to act strong again. And you can see these tails here, hitting, let's say 1935-ish or something. So it's obvious where we need to go. And look, it's coinciding perfectly with it descending. So for me, we need gold to close at 1940. Even a close above 1938 is probably enough. But you know what I mean? Like, I want to see 1940 on gold, especially close would really do it. And then we can say, all right, time to go to the 1970 to test 1970-ish, so 70, 80. But for me, gold's looking good. We know that the dollar looks bad. I mean, it'd be better if gold looks good with the dollar looking strong, but the fact that the dollar looks weak sort of reiterates gold's potential to move higher here. So I think gold looks very good. If we zoom out, just look at that pattern. I mean, we had a massive move up. We've got banking crisis stuff here, takes us all the way up. We know in the background what's going on, inflation, war. So obviously there's a reason why gold's doing great and not all the way down here. And, we had this big move up and we ran out of steam. So we dropped, consolidated. But look, it kind of makes sense that we're going to go back up, right? We have these moves up, moves back down. Look at it, it gets overextend on the way down, back up, down. And I just feel like, yeah, you can go up and imagine the dollar starts to flush 100 going to the 99, 98, 97. Well, yeah, the gold will be above 2000 and start to test its old 2050 zone. So gold looks good. I'm not going to talk about downside. Downside will simply be the prior lows, 1900, 1890. To be honest, if we close it below 1900, we're going to go into the 1860s probably. So I think we're at least one day away from the signal of that happening. So I'll cover that, downside, those downside levels when it looks imminent. I think we have one day of warning, but otherwise at the moment it looks good. And I think, today could be the day where we start to close above 1940. And then we should really the next day start charging up here. And let's see what the dollar's doing and the markets and interest rates. But right now, the dollar is probably the most important one for gold. Silver, look at that. Same thing. I remember mentioning it was making higher lows, stronger higher lows than gold, and it was already touching its resistance because this for me is the 1940 of gold. So silver's 1940 is pretty much 23.3-ish. And you can see the descending also. Look, it's there now, right now. So silver stronger than gold. I think if gold's at 1940, silver's going to be at 23.5. And by then, and it's bullish, you know, when silver's outperforming gold, whether on the way up or on the way down, it's bullish. So I think silver looks very good. Maybe we run to 24. Honestly, if gold is at 1940, closing at 1940 and starting its run, silver's probably already at 24. And then look how strong silver looks. Imagine silver at 24 in the next 1, 2, 3 days. It's just, all it's got to do is a small move higher, and then the next level is its old high of 26, which is pretty incredible. So silver, very impressed. I'm not going to cover any downside because I think I don't think we're going to be making downside in the next 1 or 2 days. So the miners also looking good, also have their descending, also have this. I think you want GDX really, a close above 31 would look really good. Then we've done the descending and we've done the last horizontal level, very clear stuff. And then we can start running to 32 point, whatever this is, 3. And again, a bit like silver, you know, if we start to close above 30, 31, let's say, GDX really has just 1 or 2 mini levels, and we're, you know, just one major level away from the old high. So GDX looks very good. And look, you know, forget the ascending, which it lost. It's just this general pattern, you know. Let's just do this. I'm going to delete this straight after, but, you know, it's kind of, okay, lost that channel, a little flush, whatever, but otherwise just holding, you know, it's still making a low here higher than this one. So it's a big move up, big move down, you know, you got your ABCs, and that's what it's done, and it's higher than this level. So, you know, you may have missed it a little bit. I did jump in a little bit. I nibbled once. It was the only nibble I did because the GDX, actually, the GDXJ, sorry. If I look at the GDXJ, it hit that level. And look at that engulfing candle. We had very strong moves back down, but, you know, look at that move yesterday. 3% is pretty good. And it's closed just at the descending. So today, gold and silver so far look good, right? If that pattern holds, if gold and silver remain green and the dollar looks still weak, we're going to be closing above the horizontal level and the descending not immediately, you know, the market will open, but we could do it today very easily. And then on we go to 39. So the miners look good, especially GDXJ. The metals look good, especially silver. Both of those are bullish sector-wise. So I think gold, silver, and the miners look very good. The dollar looks bad. Interest rates gonna go sideways down, but ultimately up. The market, I'm just gonna say sideways, but favoring the downside move. And the banks too. So for me, things look good for gold and silver. I don't want to say the low is in, but the low is in for now. Let's see, anything can happen, but I think it looks good. You know, Bitcoin. Let's finish on Bitcoin because I have a position in Hive, which has done very well. So I've loved my little trims on Hive. Now Bitcoin is looking okay. It's hovering, right? Look at this massive move, breakout of the descending. It's holding. It's still not closing above 31,500 at this point as the absolute high. I know Gareth Soloway, I like him a lot, and he said something about a 5 days consecutive close above 30,500 hasn't happened yet. I don't really understand that. I know institutions have some signal they work on or something, but apparently that's what he's looking for. I just think we're flagging. It looks good. You wouldn't really want to see a close below 30,000, but look, we did here, and it just reversed straight away. And look at that. Yesterday we hit this high as the market closed, and now it's retraced. So it's really middle of the range. Anything can happen. But one thing I will say, it's flagging for a long time. And I think the move higher will take us to 32,000 this level. And then if we go higher than that, honestly, 38,000. If we go back down, then straight back down to 28,500. If we go lower, then we're back at the ascending, this major ascending here, which will probably be, 26,000. Bitcoin looks good. But actually, what I will say, what I want to cover more than Bitcoin are the miners, because they have been outperforming crypto overall. Even though Bitcoin's been outperforming all the other altcoins, the altcoins are getting destroyed, by the way. crypto miners, look at this. This is my Hive. Beautiful, you know, breakout descending. Some of this coincided with crypto, but to be honest, you've seen the Bitcoin chart. It's just been sideways for the last sort of 20 days or something. Look at this, just up, 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 up. So I'm loving it. I keep looking at Bitcoin chart thinking, okay, it could, you know, close below 30,000. Let me sell more, let me sell more. But thing just keeps going up. Closed at high of day. I've trimmed the, you know, I've always got it worth the same amount. Like when I think it's worth too much, I call that the heavy, you know, like the miners, like the gold and silver miners. I have my light holding, middle holding, and high holding, heavy holding. Let's say Hive is still heavy, but it keeps going up. You know, it keeps being worth a couple $100 more every day, and I keep taking that same amount off the table. And maybe if I have a couple of days where it's sort of going sideways, Hive is going sideways, then I'll probably take a little bit more and make it medium, so that when it starts to flush, it's immediately worth a light amount, and then it keeps going down. I don't care. So, and then when I think it's bottomed out, I'll make it from light to medium, and if it over flushes, I'll make it from light to heavy at that point. You know, as things go down, they lose value. So I try to sell them before they do that. But the point is, I've sold a decent amount on the way up constantly, and it's constantly worth, for me, it's constantly worth $4,000. That's for me heavy holding. I don't want any stock to be worth more than 4,000. And I've got quite a lot of stocks here, and I want a lot of cash. So 4,000 is decent for me for Hive, and just every day it's worth, you know, 4,300, 4,000. So I just sell 300. No, you're worth 4,000, and it keeps going up. So today, if it goes up again, it goes to 6.5, which I don't think it'll do actually. It might even have a bit of a red day today, but if it goes up to 6.5, and that would be, you know, almost another, it'll be like another 7% move. And let's say it makes another $300. I sell another $300. Whatever the amount of shares I got to sell to make that worth 4,000 again at the top. So I just, anyway, loving crypto, loving the crypto miners, but look at the others. You know, Mara, same sort of pattern. Hasn't, maybe not as good. Normally it's actually outperforming Hive, but you know, with Bitcoin going sideways and the crypto miners going up, riot. This one's having a riot. Look at this one. Wants to go up to 20, let's say, at least. It's just really, really strong stuff. You'd expect Bitcoin's screaming up when you see this. Bitfarm, another one. They really are on a tear. Hut 8. This one was crushed. I actually wanted to buy this one, and this, I'm not gonna say it's too late, but it's too late. I'll buy it on the way down maybe. But this is a German one I watched, not the same thing. But anyway, I'm only in Hive, which actually, given my experience in the metals where I'm spread, it doesn't really make sense. I should be in multiple, but Hive is having a great time. So just wanted to mention that crypto miners are outperforming crypto by a lot. They're outperforming Bitcoin, which in itself is outperforming the alts. Anyway, don't usually cover crypto, but I hope that was useful. Enjoy. I really do think that the dollar is going to test its 101 level. I think interest rates, it doesn't really matter what they do. The dollar will do that anyway. But ultimately, the interest rates will maybe retrace a little bit more and then go back up strong. The markets down, if I have to choose, banks down and commodities up. Good luck.